break down, don't we, Abe? We got some stuff to break down indeed.
Yeah, and listen, um, I'm putting this. I put the light in the background red because, hey, listen, Raw's coming to Netflix, and this is what we're
Oh, I
doing
like
right now.
that. I like that. I like that. Let's see. Will it change from here? Yeah, it does. There we go. We're all going red. We're all going red. You know why? Because the world is going red on January 6th. Netflix debuting. Listen, we're going to get into full gear. We're going to chop all that up, previewing what I think is a very, very stacked card from a wrestling standpoint, but certainly storylines around it that we're going to get to. But before we jump into it, bro, we got to talk about it. We have to. Everything that is coming around the bend with this Jan 6 Netflix, it I don't know, it feels really special. It feels like they're going out. It feels like a PLE. I'm just gonna be honest with you, Abe. It feels like a PLE. Um, John Cena confirmed, Roman Reigns confirmed, okay, CM Punk confirmed, and on top of that, rumors of a Stephanie McMahon appearance that could prove permanent from what I've been reading, um, as well as a potential Rock and Charlotte Flair, I'm hearing may as well be in the building. No telling how she's recovered from several CL tears, MCL, ACL. We haven't seen her in over a year for sure. I think it's been last fall, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, Abe, what's going on, man? How you been? And what do you think? What do you think about what's cooking over there on the WWE side of things?
Yeah, man. So listen, the one thing that I did like about all of this was, um, the introduction of Trick Williams into the
Yes.
into the little teaser, because that just tells me that he's closer to being on the main roster than anything else. And I found it interesting that they featured Jade Cargill and not Bianca Belair. So
Ooh,
that Jade Cargill Bianca storyline is coming sooner than we may have predicted.
yeah.
And CM Punk, I think CM Punk was on there too, but it is just a situation where it's a different direction. They involved some not TikTok, some Twitch guys, some live guys, their reactions and stuff like that. So I thought that was an interesting little like nugget for them.
Yeah, absolutely it was. Listen, that Raw trailer, it really pointed out to be, this big, big thing. But Abe, I haven't been able to talk to you since the Tyson Paul debacle. Is there any reason to worry, Abe? Is there any worry in your heart as far as how that stream went down? And this is a two-pronged question, okay? One, do you personally, Abe, in your wrestling heart, are you worried? And then two, in your wrestling brain, as a journalist, concerned that some fans may not make the tradition now because they were let down by this other sports entertainment type of event. Chop on it. What do you think?
No, so listen, I'm not concerned, and neither is Triple H. I just posted something. He was on a podcast where he said he would gladly accept Netflix buffering on the debut of Raw if it meant 60 to 70 million people tuning in, and I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I think that's listen. You could only plan for so much, and you can't plan for the unexpected. So what you do is, and this is just in business strategy, this is in military strategy, this is in life period. You could only plan as much as you can for the information that you have in front of you. You always have to leave room, like in your brain, for the moments that aren't expected or come up that you weren't prepared for. Now, what makes people great or go from good to great is being able to make the adjustment after you realize what the situation was. Now, in the for Netflix, how they prepare moving forward for a potential big event will say everything about not only the company itself, but the leadership within the company, because now they have data and something to support whatever it was that caused the buffering and the basically the crashing of it. And now it's up to them to build upon those what we would call lessons learned. So I have zero
Uh,
issues. I have zero issues. I'm super confident that coming into it, there's going to be no issues.
yo,
If it does 20, 30 million viewers live, I think they'll be able to hold that down. But again, what if it does 50, 60? Will they be prepared this time? Only time will tell.
okay, listen. This is a good moment here because I'm gonna be able to like show everybody, right, how it all works out in the background. See, me and Abe have been doing this for a while. So now he's taught me how to think the way he's been thinking and booking stuff. So now he said that, and this is my mind cooking. You know what WWE should do as a troll? They should start it out, or you know what? No, it shouldn't even be WWE. It should be like the Wyatt Six, or it should be somebody who can connect the character to the authority or the power to be able to do it. But it would be hilarious for like the Wyatt Six, one of their like glitches to just be the Paul 25 logo that everybody's been seeing. Yo, that would be hilarious. And it goes back to what you're saying, Abe. It really does. And you made me think about it in a completely different way. Let's say that Mike Tyson and Jake Paul would have been, this really good boxing match. I mean, not really good. We're not talking about, Guillermo Donaire or any of those guys, right? We're talking about, two guys who at their level put out at least an exciting, entertaining show. Listen, we've been in the business long enough to know that, those shows, as much as people talk about them, it goes away. You know what I mean? Great sporting events are not talked about as long as people think they talk about them, right? The whole Babe Ruth become a legend type of thing isn't really the way sports work anymore. Instead, what happened is a shit ton of people got pissy about the Netflix thing. And now what happened? It blew up. It blew up to this whole story that continues to go and get traction. So every time you announce it, and then guess what you say? Oh, well, by the way, Raw is starting on Netflix on January 6th if you want to tune in. You know what I'm saying? So good job. I like that. I like where you're going with it. It really does make me feel like they have this whole thing under control because, and I'll be honest, I'll tell you what happened on Tuesday. I made this comment, and a lot of people have hit me up since then talking about, dude, I feel the exact same way you do. It's not about, oh, I'm scared I'm not going to see Raw. That's not going to happen. 60 million people aren't going to tune in every week. What could happen though is that, like you said, it builds and builds and builds. And it gets to the point where, yes, they're fixing things. They're making it correct to the point that once we get to WrestleMania, once we get to the shows where they really do feel like pay-per-views, the Raw after WrestleMania, those types of events, we're going to have this thing padded down. And in the meantime, the promotion machine keeps going, keeps chugging along. Abe, what do you think about Stephanie? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, hold on. And let me add to this also. Don't you think that happening also added to people saying, "Oh, I need to go back and watch that Amanda Serrano fight again," but this time it won't buffer because it's going to be the replay and it's going to be crystal clear. Oh, I want to run back and watch X, Y, and Z. So the playback views will probably be just as good for Netflix moving forward. And it'll keep pushing that number, that total number that they track every week, more and more.
Yeah, well said, well said. Now we're hearing names like Stephanie McMahon in terms of being present at the Raw, and I always thought she'd be at the Raw at Netflix, because if this family does one thing well, taking victory laps is definitely the one thing that they do well, and she absolutely deserves to be there. She absolutely deserves to be there. Whether you cheered her or booed her, it doesn't matter. She was a pivotal person, both on screen and off screen behind the stage. So she deserves to get her flowers, her victory lap. This is a celebration, not just for the current state of WWE and who exists in the power chairs. It's a celebration for all of us. You know what I mean? Like, we all got to this point. You know what I mean? I'm going to take credit too. But all of that's being said, right? And then we're also hearing stuff about possibly Stephanie coming back to an on-screen role. Now, back when everything was going on with, Vince and Stephanie and stepping down, at the time, it felt like just me. I never said this personally or like out loud, but it just felt like that whole family was tearing apart. Like the company and everything had just shredded it to the point where Stephanie didn't even seem like she wanted to work side by side with her dad. Now, maybe that was about optics, maybe not, but ultimately that's where we are. So maybe her coming back in a different capacity with a different structure around her that may not be as detrimental to women. Let's just put it that way. And her being able to be vitalized in that role and maybe even do something better. What are your thoughts? What do you think? And where does she fit in the company in today's Triple H world?
You know what? I don't know. I think that she fits anywhere regardless. She represents the WWE in a brand way that I don't think that anybody else can. When being in the public eye. So when she's Stephanie McMahon, like the boss, and she's doing the representation of the company out in the communities and all that, like nobody does it better than her, man.
Mm.
And it comes off genuine. It also comes off corporate in a way where people take it seriously. Like, everything that you want to get out of that, you're going to get out of it when she's out there representing the company. So I think that if anything, her role will be more of that than anything else. And I think that she enjoys that part of the business, being able to showcase some of the talent in front of corporations and people that they would not necessarily been able to be showcased in any other way.
I love that you said it that way. I do. And you're absolutely right. She has always resonated in that role. It reminds me a lot, kind of like the crap people talked about Brandy. I remember early AEW days, like, oh, she only does this, she only does that. Those are big roles. Like being a brand ambassador, sure, that name might not really mean a whole lot in terms of the corporate world, but in terms of what she actually did to bring their work to different audiences and different eyeballs and incorporating brands and all that, that's a huge part of why WWE is where they are today. And that was a part that AEW understood, specifically Tony and Cody and Brandy. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I will say this though, where we're at, right? It feels like a resetting still, right? It feels like, okay, Triple H is in power, so we don't know like how a Royal Rumble is going to be booked differently. Like how's a WrestleMania with a full year on in out and road to WrestleMania under Triple H's guys? How does that look? So there's a lot of aspects to this that we still don't fully understand. However, what we do know is that they are in a forget Vince mindset. You know what I mean? Now, it's not like they're out there publicly every week saying, remember, Vince didn't build this. Like, they're not trying to build that narrative. They're just trying to not talk about him. It's the same thing they've always done, right? You did your gimmick on Brett for a while and then move on. We don't talk about him. You did your gimmick on the bogus Razor and bogus Diesel for a while, move on. We don't talk about him. That's been WWE's entire blueprint on things that were controversial. I didn't even know that the Ring Boys lawsuit with Linda McMahon was even going on. That's how little this kind of dirt stuff gets picked up today in wrestling as opposed to the rest of the world, right? Go ahead.
And Linda McMahon just I think filed for separation from Vince.
Did she just file, or was it just discovered that she filed?
Probably a little bit of both.
Okay,
or one or the other.
I'll be honest, like, I don't care if Vince and Linda are together. I don't care if they're married. It's not my business. Marriages work in a lot of different ways. One of the happiest couples I've ever known slept in separate rooms as a married couple. 8 kids, all in college, beautiful family, love that man and woman to death. And yeah, I thought it was weird. I did for a long time until today, as I've gotten older and met more people. It's not weird, separate beds, like everybody has their own stuff. So I'm not judging them on that aspect, but keeping Stephanie around at least gives us a pathway to any potential storylines. That continuity with Vince is important. I know that it's hard to reconcile who he could be or is outside of WWE, and he may be a monster and all that, but we're not, that's not about Vince. It's about us. It's about our culture. It's about our sport. It's about our nostalgia and legacy, and it all belongs to us. And Vince, regardless of what he did to himself, his work shouldn't punish us. You know what I mean? As far as how storytelling is gone, like, we're not going to just pretend the man never existed. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's that's just what it is. And I think that Stephanie will, being involved, she'll find a way to do what we spoke about, years later, recognize Vince or whatever, and she do it in a Stephanie McMahon type of way, and it'll get over and it'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. Listen, I think we should move into Full Gear. We don't have a lot of time today, guys. Probably won't take calls, unless you just want to give your prediction real quick, and then we can move on. But listen, before we get into that, I do want to ask you, Abe, the big conversation going on heading into Full Gear, and I think done very well by Bobby Lashley. He knew exactly how to do this. We heard from MVP. We heard from Shelton Benjamin, right? But Lashley waited until the week of the Full Gear pay-per-view card, his first ever AEW pay-per-view match, and he waited to go and say something that would get all the headlines, right? So he went on the Lame Guys podcast, shout out to the Lame Guys, and basically said that he wanted to retire with WWE. He thought he was going to retire with WWE. He wanted his final 2 years in the company to be about putting over guys that he recognized. Names like the Street Profits came up. Both Dawkins, by the way, they wanted both. He wanted to put both of them over as singles guys. Then on top of that, he talked about Austin Theory and wanting to work with him. There was one more, and I can't remember who it was, but that was his plan, and it didn't come to fruition. He doubled down on what MVP said about storylines that they had for the Hurt Business that were then just given to Solo and the Bloodline. What do you think, Abe? What do you think about all this heading into it? He said that he's great where he's at with AEW and he's happy to continue his career. Was this the kind of storyline that you want if you're Tony Khan around your big new get heading in? Or is it like you always say, whatever gets the headlines gets the headlines?
Yeah, it's probably the latter, but also this kind of goes, if you're Tony Khan, you're okay with this. And I say that because that also shows that the wrestlers, the big names that sign to the company, aren't restricted in what they can say and what they can do. So they're allowed to voice their opinion, whether good or bad, whether about another company or not, without feeling any type of ramifications from the head company. So I think that this plays into Tony's kind of universe where he allows them to do kind of what they want as long as they are producing for his company. And something I read somewhere in the contract that he's allowed to do other things with other companies as well. So this could mean a Bobby Lashley in New Japan, or a Bobby Lashley somewhere else, maybe an indie set, TNA or whatever, or Ring of Honor or whatever. But this plays into his ability to do what he kind of wants. And this is whether people call it cheap heat or whatever, it's heat, period. And it's going into the pay-per-view, and people are now interested. I saying all of that, I don't like that Bobby Lashley and first match is with Swerve Strickland and the pay-per-view. They could have built up to that a little more. This feels like it's gonna be as you perfectly say, a schmage. You're like, I feel like it's gonna be that, and whatever, man. I just don't like it. Now, I'm gonna tell you this. What I would love, cheap pop type of thing, if Leo Rush came out with him on Saturday night.
Ooh,
Lashley.
that would be dope.
Lashley.
That would be
Yes.
dope. I like that. Yo, and see, that's crazy how you just said this one thing, right? And you didn't even book it. You just said he comes out. You didn't even tell me what he does. And already that's excitement. Because if we play on these aspects of it, right, where instead of thinking of the Hurt Business as this group that didn't get over in WWE, it's this thing that's gotten too big for WWE, and now they're going in there. You know what I mean? Like you could sell it in so many different ways. I love that. I
And
love to just incorporate that.
and think about the market, right? They're gonna be in was it New Jersey or New York, right? In Long Island, son?
Yeah.
So that tri-state area market, those are wrestling heads.
Hell yeah.
So
Prudential Center, New
Prudential
Jersey.
Center in New Jersey, right? And so if you do a move like that, yeah, people gonna pop for it because they understand what the backstory of that is. If you're gonna do it anywhere, you're gonna do it there. And people know who Leo Rush is. He might get a little bit of more of a pop there than he would anywhere else. So I think if you're gonna make that move, you make it right there.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you're right. I think you're right about this whole thing with Swerve and Lashley. Uh, Now, I'll be honest though, and tell me if you think that this sounds, if this is stupid and you think that there's a better booking or, say so. I think that this could all be for naught. I think that at the end of either Saturday or maybe at the beginning of Dynamite on Wednesday, we possibly see a merging between the Swerve side and to where it's because it needs to feel bigger. It hasn't felt big yet. They don't feel like the Bullet Club felt when they came in, or even like the Elite when they, try to revitalize themselves. Doesn't even feel that important. You know what I mean? It did though. It did early. We all wanted Lashley to come out. We all wanted to see all this stuff, but wanted it to be done right. I don't know if you want to send MVP out there week to week trying to recruit. Like that might not be the way to go. And they kind of did that, like they went to Monet and they went to a few other people and like try to make it feel like a thing. They just not doubled like there's no motive yet to me other than what we've heard outside the company, right? So if my understanding of your motive is simply that we were no longer persona non grata at WWE, or at least that's how they felt, right? That's how they felt. Then yeah, you're just going to AEW. Like, no, like let's do it in a way that the optics change, right? But yeah, I think you're right. If they don't merge, and if you don't think that, or if you think that they could be something else, does this end up becoming the CM Punk Drew McIntyre feud if they don't merge? If they don't get back together, do we see this match over and over for the next 2-3 pay-per-views?
I hope not.
Me too. Me too.
Man, I just feel like, man, I don't know. I just feel like Swerve deserves so much more than this.
Agreed.
I just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. The only other thing that I would say is if he merges and then Prince Nana, feels burned, and then he goes away for a while, and then he
Ooh.
comes back with like a new guy to take down Swerve Strickland, like long-term booking stuff, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. But then you have to think about who that would be, and it has to be a big enough star and this and that. So that's the only way that I see the merge. Swerve leaving Prince Nana, joining the Hurt Syndicate, and then Prince Nana taking off some time and then coming back in the storyline down the road.
I like it. Yeah. Do you expect anything big for Swerve's entrance this Saturday? I mean, I know that championship reign's over, but man, such a big part of his gimmick and getting over has been those entrances, and to not have him at a pay-per-view consecutively, that's one thing. But I don't know. Do you think they still go that route, or if he's not the champion, why waste the money? Is that kind of thought process?
I think you do. You got to look at you got to look at who's hot now over there in the tri-state area. Maybe bring somebody out for a cheap pop, and just kind of go from there. But I think you still do it. I think you still do it. I think he's still a big enough name to do it. So we'll see.
Last question before we move on to the other match. Lashley. Now, okay, let me put it this way. So AEW has had a thing with the world title and people coming in, right? It doesn't seem like they ever have a plan for the world title, specifically when somebody comes in. We saw with Brian, we saw with Cole. I mean, the list goes on and on. Guys who just are brought in, kind of do their own thing, separate from the world title, stratosphere, right? Bobby Lashley, is there any way he's not championed by the next, I don't know, let's say 12 months?
You know what? I don't think he is. And for all the reasons why you just said it, right? He was talking about putting guys over and this, that, and third. I don't think you make Bobby Lashley a champion next year. Maybe in 2 years, maybe, but it also depends on how long his contract is. If you have time,
yeah.
I was gonna say if you have the time to kind of stretch it out, then you do it in 26 maybe, but I don't see that being the way to go right now.
Yeah, I agree. I'm curious to what everybody else, what people think out there. Shout out to Machine Gun Matt. Shout out to Adam Sanchez in the chat. He says Lashley wins the Owen. But see, that to me it's too small. Like, I don't know, dude. I'm so frustrated with this Bobby Lashley booking because it very well could have been something that AEW used to pivot from everything. Let's leave it all behind. Fuck the Punk stuff. Forget all of it, right? Let's just move into this new chapter. Let's put our, racehorse blinders on and just run our race. But it feels like everything that is set in motion or could be set in motion is just another chance for them to fumble the ball. Bobby Lashley needs to be made to feel like that champion and needs to be booked in that spot. 2 reasons, and I'll tell you why. 1, Bobby Lashley is a guy, and I don't mean this in an ugly way. He has every reason to have that star ego. Bobby Lashley has to be treated like a star. And if at some point he feels like enough time has gone by and he hasn't, he's not gonna dig the situation. He is not gonna be into it. I'm not saying he can't play the background, right? But he's certainly not going to play the background AEW. Like, if you wanted him to do the opening match with Lesnar at SummerSlam or whatever, sure. I mean, he'll be up for that, right? Like, if he's not going to be in the title picture, it needs to be in the big money making picture. The problem, though, is once you establish Bobby Lashley as a guy, how do you not fall into the trap that we saw happen every single time he went back to TNA/Impact? Every time. And I'll be honest, it's all starting to feel a little impacty, a little TNA-ish when it comes to Bobby Lashley. So I want that to be as far removed from the scenario as possible. Adam says Owen gets a title shot now. That's a good point. Yeah, Owen Winter does get a title shot. That's like, it's almost like a Money in the Bank thing.
Hey Mario, you could I know you wanted to say it. You could have said it. I would have been okay with it. You could have said the words. You could have said it. It felt a little Memphis.
I was gonna say, I don't want to take his.
You can say
it. Hey, because then you're gonna start saying at the end of the day, and then it's gonna just all hell breaks loose. No, I'm playing. Yeah, no, it does. It does. It feels a little Memphis, bro. It does, man. I'm not gonna lie. And so, ultimately, Swerve felt like this thing that was like, oh shit, the glass is raising. The Hurt Business back in their time frame felt like, oh shit, this is something real. You know what I mean? Bobby Lashley's always felt like, so you have all of the ingredients there. Now all I was left to do is cook us up something that we can't miss. Cook us up some of that can't miss TV, bro. That's what I want. Lashley would be a great world champ, but the AEW and IWC stands would have a fit about it. See, and Matt's right. He's right. They would have a fit about it. But, oh, man, I want to say it, but I don't want to be mean. Who cares? Who cares at this point? The AEW, let me tell you this. The IWC stands are the same ones that stopped watching AEW. They're the same ones that complain. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't
Not,
know.
not only
They're
that,
just
but
not as
listen,
loyalist. Like WWE stands are loyalists.
what is Moxley doing with the title right now? Really?
What's he doing with the booking right now?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And that would be a perfect segue into that match right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very much so. What is going on? So I'm gonna be honest with you, and I hope Adam's still on because I had told him about this before in one of the other shows. I was this close to dressing up as the alter ego that I created, Casa de Naranja, and this is Orange Cassidy's Hispanic relative, with the shirt and it's the jean jacket, but it has the Mexico flag on the back, so it's even more fly. But listen, I can't do it because it goes back to what Matt said on Tuesday, bro. If Orange Cassidy wins the title, he's not watching AEW anymore. It's that serious for him, and it's that serious for a lot of fans. And it's so crazy because this Orange Cassidy thing started off like a rocket, but the moment he started getting close to that very tippity top, that was like everybody's like, no, whoa, 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 whoa. We love Doink the Clown. We just don't want Doink the Clown to win the Royal Rumble and then the championship at WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying, Abe? Abe, tell me what is going on. What is Tony thinking? Where are we with this? The storyline makes no sense in a way if you think that the whole time Mox's plan was to get all the dumb stuff that, in his opinion, out of AEW, but then he books a main event AEW championship match with that very aspect of the roster. I don't know. What do you think, Abe?
I think that there has to be like the swerve of all swerves in this matchup. I would be highly disappointed if it's just a straight up Orange Cassidy and Mox thing.
There's no way.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no way. But in saying that, I want to take this moment and plug in the fact that yours truly will be hosting the ppv.com live chat with Harley Cameron. If you watch AEW Full Gear on Saturday on ppv.com, you can chat with myself and Harley Cameron, and we'll be on the live chat. So that's the commercial break right there. You can even chat with Mario. Mario,
that's
will be
a
on there
great
too.
community too, by the way. That community is real and knowledgeable wrestling fans. Honestly, it's one of the funnest chats of any wrestling show that I've ever been in. Honestly, it feels like it's nothing but people who are just there to enjoy. You know what I mean? Like very few comments like in YouTube, right? Like I'll never watch anything on YouTube anymore wrestling with them because this just gets all negative. You know what I mean? But that ppv.com chat is awesome.
And so shout outs to them, shout outs to everybody at ppv.com. But going back to Orange Cassidy, I just listen, if it's not more than what it is on the surface, I'll be highly disappointed. Highly disappointed.
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, let me read the chat. Adam said, I have a feeling Lashley squashes Swerve Lesnar style. That would set the tone for him. Complete contrast to Swerve being the most dangerous. Yo, see, oh my God. Yo, that booking just gave me chills. And that's the other part about it is listen, Bobby Lashley, when he looks at Lesnar, he looks at everything he should have been, honestly. And there are a lot of things we could talk about in terms of that, but we don't have to get into it. It's just the bottom line is he has the goods, right? Can he be that guy? Lesnar style would be absolutely nuts. Matt said, this is what happens when the boys are in charge of the boys. Damn, bro. And he said it right. The inmates running the asylum.
And this is what I'm gonna say to that. Is Tony Khan the 2024 Eric Bischoff?
Yeah, man, he might be, honestly. It's starting to feel more and more like that every day.
The only thing that is really left to do is for Tony Khan to put a motorcycle in front of the ring, in the middle of the ring, and sit on it.
No shit, right? Hey, the fans will be going hog wild.
Oh my God.
Yo, and it makes you think like him bringing in Shane, is that like the fucking Bischoff and Russo boom explosion? Oh man, I hope not. I love AEW. Adam said Wheeler face turn happens, but Cassidy doesn't win. You see, and that's my, oh man, I'm so glad he said that. The booking Did you get to see Dynamite, Abe?
No, I didn't get to. I didn't
Okay,
get to watch it.
let me tell you all you need to know. All you need to know is that Moxley and the crew, with Wheeler, who looked the most suspicious out of any of them. Adam, I think, is on something there because he has never looked right in this thing. He has always had something cooking in his brain that his eyes and face try to hide. You could just see it. And it's great storytelling. He's so good at it. You have them go out there and essentially tie up Cassidy, and it was a move similar to the bag over the face, like the, you know what I mean, like the whole like let's end him. But at the end, Cassidy just gets back up. They try to tape his hands to his pockets, like they put his hands in his pockets and they try to tape it up. But then at the very end of the show, like he just gets out and just, you know, gives him the half thumbs up. And it's just like he didn't stand tall necessarily, but he didn't take the beat down to the credits. You get what I'm saying? So it made zero sense. And all it did was make me concerned that we are going to see this Wheeler Yuta Orange Cassidy team up. And if that's enough to bring Mox down in the gang, I don't know. Matt might be right. They might just be drowning over there without understanding what kind of booking to have. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to think about this. I mean, you got Kyle Fletcher and all these guys setting up the dominoes, Abe. From the moment the 0 hour starts, this show has the potential to be a 5-star pay-per-view all the way around. But if they end it with Orange Cassidy as the world champion and orange balloons and streamers coming down, I don't think that is Bret Hart at WrestleMania 10. Hey, everybody, we got a champ. Let's move forward. That's not it, Abe. That's not it.
Let me ask you this. Would you be surprised if there's a situation referee is knocked out, you know, they're ganging up on Orange Cassidy to try to set up for the pin? Out comes Daniel Bryanson and then turns heel on Orange Cassidy.
Shit. Yo, that would be nasty. Nasty booking. Fuck yeah, I like that. Hell yeah. Now see, bro, why do you do this every time? Every time
that would be hard as hell.
That would be hard as hell, bro. Hard as hell that would be. I would love it. I would love it. Listen, I don't think it's realistic only because of the tenure of Bryan Danielson. We know that obviously he's either done forever, or if he comes back, it's this like one and done type of situation. But that would certainly be off into the right direction. You know what I mean? And with everything that's happened over the last few weeks, I mean, it just feels like AEW's lost so much control of what they used to be and who they are. You know what I mean? Like it's like booking to just try to make sense of nothing.
And wouldn't that add to the theme of World's End pay-per-view in December?
Damn. Yo, that title takes on a whole new meaning.
That's what I'm saying. Walk with me here,
bro. Yeah, hey, that path seems tried and true, Abe. I'm not gonna lie. The bridge you're walking on seems supported on some very hefty beams. Yo, Matt said, this leads to Mox versus Wheeler, which is no different from what AEW has been doing, friends wrestling their friends. AEW is slowly becoming a high-budget indie show, and that's, I think, what it all boils down to. Matt said something, Abe, last week that has not left my mind. He said that the crux of AEW's downfall was not CM Punk, but rather when they lost Cody Rhodes, because in that moment, they didn't just send AEW into a potential pitfall or a potential downstream. They also gave WWE the pieces that they need to begin their upstream. Okay. So that in and of itself was enough to just blow my mind. And then I watched this documentary where essentially they broke everything down. And it was a very pro Cody documentary on YouTube. I'm not even going to give the name. Maybe I'll do it later. But yeah, ultimately it painted in this light where you see like, man, AEW just was this close to making the right choice every single time and just didn't. And we are where we are today. But Abe, to move on, because I know we didn't have a long show today planned. I do want to ask you about some of the other aspects of the card, specifically. You know what? Let's talk about the MJF. I'm sorry. Yeah, the MJF Roderick Strong. Cole doesn't win. Roderick Strong gets the win. Then Cole comes out on AEW TV and just like, I don't know, seeing him as a face when I'd seen him as like a weird heel right before, even though all this time has passed, Abe, I can't make heads or tails of it. These are the best wrestlers, some of the best wrestlers on the planet, and I can't even get into the matches because they don't vibe. They don't connect. I mean, Roderick Strong MJF is a strong match. It really is. What do you think, Abe?
Yeah, I just think that they didn't tell the story correctly to introduce Adam Cole as a face. They
Mm.
they just didn't do a good job of it. Um, I like this match. I feel like it's buried a little bit in the card. Because remember, this is a home game for MJF.
Yes.
Really, you
Oh,
know what I
good
mean?
call.
Tri-state
Good
area,
call.
right? So I feel like this thing is buried in there. Um, MJF should come out, you know, a winner here. But like, what do you do? What do you do with MJF at this point? Like, yes, he beats Roderick Strong. Then what? Like, um, I don't know. Like, what? I don't know. I don't know what you do with him. Um, I don't know. I'm confused on what his direction is right now, in the business. Now, I will tell you this: it being in Jersey and all that, and you know, we'll get into some of the other matches and stuff, but I would not be surprised if there's a Kenny Omega sighting for this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's just waving to the crowd type of thing or whatever, or maybe in the back or something like that. But I can't believe that his first viewing or return in AEW is going to be in Japan and not. I mean, in wrestling is going to be in Japan and not in
Right.
AEW.
How is the guy that gave you the check not going to benefit from the clicks that is obviously going to be a thing, when Kenny returns? Like, that to me is crazy, unless Kenny himself isn't like when you're in WWE, you get the benefit of a full like fledged company, right? HR, well, I mean not HR, but like or it has HR obviously, but like you have all these types of things, right? One of the big selling points if you're a WWE guy or going to be a WWE guy is the fact that when you're injured, you don't have to book shows and screw fans out of money that paid to see 100% you. You can go to the Performance Center and work out the kinks, get the rust out, all that kind of stuff. So look, Kenny's got enough money and enough, boys. He could find a ring in any city, in any, state, or probably any place in the country, in the world. But you can't gel with the people that are on the road. You can't gel with the people that are already backstage in AEW, and that's one of the big differences. So I don't know. I agree with you. It's time for Kenny to come back, and his first appearance back on wrestling TV, regardless of if it's not in the States, it shouldn't be in Japan. It should be on AEW. You want to do it in Japan? Do it on an AEW show in Japan, but you can't do that now. What do you think of what Adam said? He said, too soon for Omega return. By the way, it's not. Good job for both of y'all. I think y'all are both right. Bucks come back and his faces since they shook Private Party's hands. A Kenny and Elite face return. I don't feel. Listen, I'll be honest. I like it for Kenny to have the backup, right? But do the Bucks play that role anymore? I don't know. Like, I don't know if they do, and they certainly haven't played it well, over the last couple years.
Yeah, honestly, and this is probably going to be more hurtful to the Bucks fans. I think they need to take a break for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think people are burnt out by the Bucks.
Yeah.
A little burnt out, man. I know I am.
I think it's more than that, honestly. I think after watching the Cody thing, there may not have been one story that any one writer wrote that painted the Bucks as the bad guys. But if you look at it all, like them releasing the book and the contract stuff, and then Cody later commenting on the contract stuff, and then Cody's comments about, him and the Bucks and the way things went, and all of the innuendo that was left. Like, we need those guys to sit down and do a podcast one day. That's a podcast worth paying for one show to hear these guys, see if they can hash it out on live air or not, but at least get to the bottom of what happened, and because it's left to the fans, right? And the marks, the stands, to paint this picture that Cody was just trying to be what he is now for WWE. He saw the writing on the wall. He knew that AEW wasn't going to be saved by somebody as toxic as Punk. And this is his mind, not mine. This is his thinking, or at least I'm assuming. And he's in this position where he's like, no, we need a John Cena. I can be that, guys. Listen, I don't want to be the badass, cool flipper guy. I don't want to be the guy that used the fire table at every match or has the chainsaw out to the ring. Like, I don't need the gimmicks and I don't need the 5-star matches. Let me be the 1970s baby face that my father was. Let me be that. We need that. And the fans said, no, F you. You either be a heel or we're going to boo you out of the building every time. And it was like this shift happened, right? And so when you go back and you look at it all play out, if you called that a wrestling storyline, Abe, if I read you what happened, you'd say the Bucks were booked as the heels. And it's that simple. So I do agree with you. I think they have go away heat, the kind of heat where you need to go away for a little bit to come back and, gain an even stronger heat. Matt said an elite face return makes no sense. The other two members, Jack and Olaf's, that they added are still heels representing the elite. See, and that's the problem, is you have paired two aspects of this roster together in a way that nobody likes. And you can't do that. You cannot do that. You cannot pair up the Legion of Doom with the Nation of Domination and not have an actual storyline or motive for them going forward. It just doesn't work, Abe. It really doesn't. What is it for you when it comes to that tag team match with the Private Party, Outrunners, King of Black Throne, and the Acclaimed? Before I preface this, I do want to say the Outrunners, huge fans of theirs. Abe has done the pay-per-view.com chats with them in the past. Some of the funniest ones too, by the way. They're really great. What do you think of this match? What do you think of the title implications?
Yeah,
They put the Runners over, your boys.
This is the thing, man. I feel like the Runners have more heat than Private Party.
I agree.
I mean, it's just that simple, man. The fanny packs are selling like crazy.
I'm about to get one. I love me a fanny pack, bro.
Yo.
I love them. And I'm like, yo, I need one of thems.
And the thing is that like they tap into that like 80s vibe but still kind of like a now type of thing.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, I want to say Private Party wins, but I'm thinking Outrunners come out.
I think they have to.
But this is the thing also. I don't know if they give it to the Outrunners now because Private Party, they tri-state area, so they're gonna get the pop.
Yeah, and the Outrunners, I don't know if they want to pull that kind of get it in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unless they give it to the Acclaimed, and the Acclaimed turn heel at that point.
Yeah, and you've been saying that, and I think Matt told me as well, or maybe it was Adam. I can't remember. Somebody told me the other day too that they felt like that was where the Acclaimed was heading, and I think that y'all are right. Ultimately, though, I think you got to capitalize on the Outrunners, and the reason why I think the Outrunners win is when you look historically at the AEW Tag Team Championship and the way that it's been won by several teams. AEW loves booking that upstart, fresh, just getting over team to win. It's how the Acclaimed got their belts, right? It's how even really the Guns, the Young Guns, that's how they kind of got it. Yeah, they weren't getting like face type of responses, but they were getting really strong like Dom, heel heat type of shit, right? Where they just spoke and people hated them. And they just love to give these moments in the tag team division more than any other division. Honestly, I have no idea how they figure out who's going to win the belt, but in that division with the tag team, that's the strongest thing you can have to become the tag team champions is undeniable momentum. And how crazy is it, Abe? How crazy is it that the promotion that said that they wanted to make tag team a real big thing, right? And then got away from it, is still capable of popping out these incredible tag teams, like real tag teams. The Outrunners feel like a real tag team. And going to your point, they hit the mark on so much, right? There's that nostalgia there. There's the funny gimmick, but they're also hosses. They're also like badass dudes. You know, I haven't met them. I haven't gotten to talk to them at all, like not even like online or nothing. But I really hope they're cool guys. I really hope they're cool. I hope they're the kind of guys that they're at a show like in your local area, and they're like working out at the local like Crunch or Golds, and like you can go up to them and say hey and take pictures. Like, you shouldn't do that to wrestlers. You shouldn't do that to people whose job it is you know, to be working out, but everybody does it, right? And you know, I do it too. And so I hope they're that kind of guys, honestly. But yeah, I think this is their moment on Saturday. Listen, moving on, I do want to talk about the Tashida and Ricochet match that was just booked. They booked it on Dynamite. It was a match that I think we all saw coming. I think that this was obvious from the moment that they made Ricochet and what's his name, Ospreay. This was like always like, it felt like the booking, right? Especially with Kyle Fletcher and everything that they were going. Abe, is this a chance for Ricochet to really go balls to the wall and try to steal the show on a card that has a lot of show stealers? Or is this the moment we see whether that Ricochet isn't as valuable in a market for which a lot of people are capable of doing what he's able to do, right? He's a unicorn in WWE. You know, he's part of the bunch there in AEW.
I would hate for that to happen.
Me too.
I think that he's TNT championship bound at some point soon. I think that if you squash him, then you wasted your time bringing him in the first place.
Great. Well said. Well said.
So I don't see them squashing him. I see, you know, him gaining momentum and him going after either Jack Perry or Daniel Garcia, and then, you know, getting that feud going.
Yeah. Do you think that there's plans to put the title on Ricochet sooner than they may have had other, like, not world championship, but any belt? Like, of all the guys that have come through AEW, is this the one guy that you think, yes, they have plans, maybe not immediate as of the next month or two or even three, but some point within the first half of 2025, you expect a title on him? Or does he become another wrestler added to the bunch that has been brought in a hot move that ends up getting cold?
I think they put the title on him.
Yeah, you think that they're that they, is it because he's that good, or is it because they need to set a new precedent?
Both. And he also has the look for it. He has the charisma, he has the character.
Yes. Yes.
He speaks well. I think he has all the tools to make that happen. Now, and I just thought about this here. If at some point they make him a heel, right? He could bring in his, was it fiance or wife?
Fiance, I think.
Fiance.
Yeah.
Bring her in as like a Miss Elizabeth valet type of thing. But she comes in and only announces him walking into the ring as she did in the WWE. But so she grabs the mic and she announces only Ricochet every single time.
Yes. Oh, that would be, oh man, dude. I love that. Dude, you know what? In all honesty, like, if I lost my voice, I would just sit here and watch you do the show. And I didn't even have to talk, because bro, I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And how crazy is it that you just thought of that? How crazy is it just popped in your mind? I don't know how you and Matt do that shit. Like, I have to like think about the consequences of my booking before I could even say it out loud. And yet I think that would do, you know what? You know why I think that's such a great booking? Because it's not just a booking that works. It's not just a booking that's interesting. it's a booking that you could bring, like, you know what wrestling is? A lot of times, wrestling promotion, it's fishing. You just cast that lure and you wait for a 70s, 80s wrestling mark, you know, in their 40s or 50s or whatever, 60s, and then they grab it and then you fucking gotcha, bitch. Like, that's the way it works, right? And that's what you could do with that type of program, right? You can hook the people from the 80s and remember those things. Like, dude, like, who doesn't love a wrestling wedding? Like, who doesn't love a wrestling wedding? They're the best, right? AW's done none of the kind of classic, you know, schmozzy type of like cartoony type of things that wrestling does. AW at sometimes I think is guilty of taking themselves too serious. And I don't mean that in the same way Bret Hart does. I mean that more in the way of like they think their fans don't like silly or don't like funny sometimes. And that's not true. I mean, you look at some of the most over gimmicks in AEW history, right? It was, what's their names? The guys with the claw, what was their names? And Evil
Not
Uno and all them.
Demolition.
No. From the AW. Remember with the Evil Uno, and it was very early AW and they collected a lot of guys.
Oh,
What were they called?
yeah.
I forgot what it was called, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. They had the number. Everybody had a number or something like that.
Yes. Oh man,
Yeah.
somebody in the chat help me out with that. Yeah, it was them. And like, so that was a goofy, you know, funny gimmick that everybody loved. So did I. I mean, look at MJF and Adam Cole. That whole gimmick, the Dark Order. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
the best, bro. Honestly, you're the best. When this show starts getting something, bro, I'm seriously gonna pay you as a producer. And so at the end of the day, you have these people who you know, like book these things, and I think they do it in a way to, oh shit. Did we go out? Oh no, just IG. I hate that they send me the notification like that. Listen, we are getting close to the end time. So if we could, we'll speed this up for y'all just to make sure that we get everything. And by the way, if anybody wants to call and give their predictions, even if Abe has to go, I can stick around for like 10, 15, maybe even 30 minutes to hear y'all.
Let's keep
rock.
it.
Okay.
Because the thing that I had to go to just got delayed. So.
Okay, cool. Well, let me know on air. Just tell me out loud, hey, you know, shut up. Yeah, I gotta go. Okay.
Yep.
Listen, Jay White, Hangman Page. I don't even think we need to spend a lot of time on this, for me at least, because I feel like, man, this got dropped. All I look at is matches on this card that either could have been built up more or they just felt stale from the get-go. And this is one of them for me. I love Jay White, and I think that Hangman Adam Page has all the potential in the world. This should have been more important. I remember Diddy and King P both booked this thing in the summer. Okay, they both booked this thing in the summer before even Jay White came back from injury. And so you know, it was one of those things that I think that ultimately we got too soon, or they just didn't, you know, have they just didn't have any concrete plans for how to make this important. Abe, what do you think? You think Tony should come out at the beginning of the night and create a new belt for this match? I'm playing.
Listen, I'm a little disappointed because those Shane O'Max talks or whatever, they quiet down.
Quieted bad, yo. I wonder if that was even a real picture with the Bucks now. I think that was a Shane O'Mac cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
No, I'm playing.
You know, let me tell you something. You want to hear some like grimy stuff that I thought that I was thinking?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I'm thinking, man, Triple H was like, yo, Shane, you don't want to be with them dudes over there.
Oh, you think so?
I got a spot for you. How much they were gonna pay you? What they were gonna give you? Nah, come here. Stay home. Stay at home with us. You know, I'll get you a spot.
Ride season money.
I'll get you a spot at NXT, or you could be in charge of WWE ID or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no shit, right?
I'm telling you, man.
You think so, bro? That would be nasty.
I would not be surprised if something like that happened.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only thing that would come to mind of things getting so quiet, like all of a sudden. That's the only thing that I can think of.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I didn't even think of that because, and it's funny, like I didn't think of that, and yet what you just said connected to something I've been thinking about for weeks.
I've been trying to like really like ever since, and honestly, Matt made this so much worse on me. I've been trying so hard to like narrow down the day or week or month or months that AEW kind of dropped the ball. Matt said this, and he said this to me a few times, but I want to read it one more time. He said, oh shit, where is it? He said something. Okay, I'm just gonna try to do it from memory because I can't find it. He said that basically AEW dropped missed the dunk. They had an open lane to the boards and they missed the dunk. They were set up, right? They had Punk and see, it wasn't enough to be able to lure a wrestler over because you can't tell a wrestler a guarantee of what they actually want. See, a wrestler doesn't want the big money. They don't even want the big contract. They want the equivalency to what a professor gets, right? When a professor gets that job forever, and I forgot what it's called, but it's like when they're made like, I forgot what it's called, but you can't get fired. You can't get out. Like, you know what I mean? It's like getting one of those jobs where you're just secure. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where this all went with CM Punk, is that it wasn't just that he couldn't be the big contract or the big money. He wanted to be the Undertaker. He wanted to be the guy that was the guy for the company. But he also had a vendetta against WWE, and that's why it worked. You see, the company that's been in control this whole time has only been the company that has brought along more enemies for the other company. It's not that you can find AEW loyalists. It's not that you can find WWE loyalists. What you can find are wrestlers who have gotten so pissed at the other side that they're willing to come to the other promoter just to make them hurt, because they know that there's nothing you can tell a Vince McMahon or a Tony Khan or a Triple H that's going to hurt their feelings or hurt them in the way that a wrestler's hurt when they are fired or when they're not given the correct booking or whatever, however they see it, right? Because this is all their point of view. So when you can't do that, you have to find that guy. You have to get them on your side. What AEW messed up the most wasn't that they didn't keep Punk happy or pick Punk over them. It's that they pissed him off so bad that he was willing to forget who he was originally pissed off at and go and help them destroy the other side. So now if you're Triple H and you're listening to guys like Matt tell you the truth, that AEW was right there on the verge of becoming something that WWE would constantly have to worry about, as opposed to what night's NXT on, right? And they dropped the ball, and they did it in such a way that not only did they drop the ball, but they fucking kicked it and booted it off the lineman's helmet, and it flipped 2 times in the air, and the other side intercepted it with nobody in front of them to stop them getting to the end zone. So that's where we are today. And that's why I feel like ultimately you're right about the Shane stuff, because the WWE, specifically Triple H, does not want to get into a position where he has to fight them again on a more neutral territory. He wants to be the big dog looking down at the small dog. He never wanted to admit that they were competition. Now today he admits they're competition only because he's got his foot at their throat. That's where we are, and I spit everywhere because I'm pissed.
Yeah, not only that, but you know, they continue to do that because every time AEW has a pay-per-view that week, WWE makes some type of move, some type of announcement.
Exactly.
Like this week, it was the Netflix teaser. No coincidence that they dropped it this week when it's AEW Full Gear. So I mean, it's chess. It's not checkers. It's chess. These guys play high-level corporate chess. The problem is that Tony Khan hasn't been able to capitalize off of his moves because all his moves are miscalculated. And the reason why he's miscalculated is because he's trying to Jerry Jones the situation. And everybody knows that when you're Jerry Jones and you don't have a GM, a proper one that can do his job, you're going to have the problems that you have. And Tony Khan is right there.
That hurt. I'm not going to lie. That hurt. Not because it was mean, not because it was not true, but because it was too true. You're right. You're right. Tony Khan is treating AEW like he's Jerry Jones and they're the Dallas Cowboys. Wow. And look where both of them are now. And I say that as a proud Cowboy fan, which my fat dog is asleep on the Oh no.
And
on
and
the
look
other one.
and look at Jerry Jones. What did he do? He overpaid Dak, just like maybe Tony Khan overpaid
Damn.
Swerve
Yo,
Strickland.
keep it going, bro. Keep it going. Tell us who Aikman is in this. No, I'm playing. Yo, that was a good one. Honestly, shout out. And Matt agrees. He said good comparison. Adam, thank you so much. Tenure was the word I was looking for professors. Tenure. And it's bullshit because they can essentially do anything they want to any students and never get fired. It's bullshit. I've actually had to deal with it before, and it's bullshit. Matt said, I 100% believe Shane is a mole for WWE and he's getting info on contracts. Yo, that would be crazy. I think that if he was that embedded, we would know. We would know because he'd have to have some sort of contract or something with them at that point. I mean, not that it would be public information, so you could be right. But yo, shout out to Matt. He said, why you turning Ricochet into Alberto Del Rio? That was a good one. Matt said, go Houston, by the way. Yo, and you saw that shit with Micah Parsons. They got into that whole thing, like, who's the real Texas team, right? Everybody got to say Dallas because it was like the America's team. But yo, Houston, if you ask me who's going to win a Super Bowl first between the two Texas teams, I think it's Houston. I think it's Houston, and I don't even think it's close. I think Houston wins a Super Bowl and Cowboys go another 2 decades before they win another one. Anyway, so yeah, man, you cooked this one so well, bro.
Let's go to the ladies.
Just amazing. Let's go to the ladies indeed, because man, Mercedes Moné, Chris Statlander, Abe, on paper, if you would have booked this match a year ago, you would have said, man, could this be something that main events Dynamite, or could this be one of the big matches like AEW versus WWE type of thing, booking or whatever? Today, holy shit, it does not feel that way. I'm looking forward to this because I know what I know. And what I know is that Moné is one of the best wrestlers on the planet and has the ability to bring that out of her every single week. And Chris Statlander is also a great wrestler who has the ability to adapt her style defensively and put over other people. So, Abe, I ask you, who is more primed this weekend to get a boost? And how afraid are you that Moné this match becomes another Moné forgetful match? As Matt said, she's been put in the really tough spots on pay-per-views as well. That's something to keep in point.
I think this is Chris Statlander's moment because they want to make Mercedes Moné the AEW World Champion. It's as simple as that. In 2025, I think that Chris Statlander wins and she tries her best to look great, but Mercedes Moné doesn't help her in getting her over. I keep waiting to see Mercedes Moné come out as the wrestler that I know she can be, but I'm starting to believe that person has come and gone. And I listen, RIP Sasha Banks, because I don't think that person is there anymore.
Damn, for real, bro.
I hate to say it. I
hate to hear it.
I don't think that I think she is approaching these matches as her being a brand, a business, and why take the risk and hurt the business or the brand in any shape or form? It just feels like that. It just doesn't feel right. It feels like Glow Wrestling to me.
Damn, for real, like Glow Wrestling? Nah, come on.
Yeah.
She's performing better than that, I think.
I don't see it.
So you're saying you haven't seen glimpses of Sasha Banks at all?
Nah.
Wow.
As Shannon Sharp would do.
Yo, for real.
I'm just not seeing it. Like, I want to see it. Dude. Listen, there's nobody in this space more that wants to see it than me. I'm just not seeing it. And PLE after PLE, I keep getting disappointed more and more. I keep hoping that I'm going to see it. And then when it doesn't happen, I'm like, oh. Listen, that's why I'm at this point. I'm at this point where I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop hoping. And maybe it happens when I stop hoping, because right now I just don't see it. You might as well get Big Mama out there from Glow Wrestling back in the day.
Yo, that's crazy because when I think about everything you're saying, I start to look at who she had been mixed with and who she had been booked with. Yo, they listen, Abe, and this seriously, they stomped out a lot of small fires, but fires nonetheless from a lot of other talent. Look, Willow could be one of the biggest, members of that women's roster, right? I mean, she is already, but she could be a value asset that's selling and somebody you can book, but we don't know now because that booking's gone, right? You cannot keep that flash in the pan. Like, this was Vince. Vince figured out wrestling a long time ago, right? And the reason he booked the way he did over the last 2 decades is because he knew that that wrestling fans catching fire is as simple as that. You flick a match and you throw it in the brush and you just keep doing it. You don't look at the fire and try to cultivate it and talk to it and see if it'll burn more. No, you just flick a match and throw, flick a match and throw, flick a match and throw. And that's why Vince continued to change up Raw hour before it went on air, sometimes even later, constantly changing up things, all of that. Why? Because he was in a position where he understood all you got to do is get one thing in, one thing over, and let it catch fire, right? And he can just sit back and wait and see which one does it. And he followed Bryan Danielson all the way to the top. He followed, all these guys, and he saw that, right? AEW has to understand that you cannot bring back fires once they're stomped out. You lost what you had with Willow. You lost what you had with Chris Statlander, by the way, too, because when she came back, she left with a lot of real genuine goodness in terms of how the fans were getting across with her. So you can't continue to stomp out little fires that could potentially grow into the next Sasha Banks or the next Naomi or Charlotte Flair or whatever, right? But you can't save what has already been lost. So I think it goes back to something you said, Abe. You said this, I don't even know if you remember this. You said this before I think it was the DMD match with Monet. You said this. You said that Tony Khan will have to learn the hard way. You can't throw good money at bad or bad money at good, something like that. And then you made the point that Monet was going to only ever be one of two things. You said, one, she was going to be the thing that brought this division up and then thus AEW with it. Or you said she was going to be a hindrance of money on the card, a black hole of wasted value. And I mean, you didn't put it in quite those terms, but those were the options you gave. And bro, you were spot on. And, now thinking of it, I can't believe that I even thought for a second that you could be wrong, because you're right. Either she was going to get over like crazy or nobody was going to give a shit, which is the polar opposite to everyone loving her. People think in wrestling that everybody loving you is the opposite to everybody hating you, but that's not the truth. They're one and the same. Indifference is the opposite of both of those. Not giving a shit. When you come out and you boo the shit out of somebody, it's like you clicking the dislike button on YouTube or whatever. You're giving them the, you're giving them what they want, right? They want that sort of back and forth, but ultimately now you're stomped out. I don't know, dude. I don't know what you do with Sasha. I mean, you can't cut her, right? There's no way you could do that. You can't get the money back. You can't continue. You can't plug the hole of money that's being lost. So what do? Do you make her the champion?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I'm getting Hogan red and yellow vibes when he just went up to WCW, right? Paid him a whole bunch of money, and then they were like, oh, what do we do now? Like, we're stuck. I think they're stuck with Mercedes Moné. They paid a whole bunch of money, and they're like, what do we do? Like, I don't know if it was such a good idea to bring her in as a heel right off start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of, I think that she somehow, some way, she's gonna have to come off TV for a while. But how do you do that when you're probably paying her a shit ton of money, like guaranteed money? So I don't know. I just, they really thought that she was going to lift the women's division. I just don't see how she's done that so far since she's been there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It looks like the chat agrees. Adam said 4 horsewomen are not the same anymore. Matt said Mercedes Monet is booking herself like Fabulous Moolah. There is a reason she was booked for and had words written for her. The money match to save it is Tony Storm and Monet unification. I don't think she come in as a heel. I feel like the fans turned her heel and she went with it. Ooh, damn. I don't remember it like that. I don't. I remember her coming in with the kind of like snotty, like look y'all just gave Big Mama the money to come and save this place was kind of how I felt, and I was with it, right? Because that was the truth. It felt like the narrative. AEW's women division never took off, never had any real care, or anything really behind it. So then here comes this person and she's talking all that shit. I love it. But I think both of y'all are right in the sense that she would have been much better off if she tried to stay face, like you said, even go through the storm, right? It wasn't going to be like Cody Rhodes at all. And then to Matt's point, I don't know. Is that how it did happen? Because thinking about it now, I could certainly remember the times when the fans were booing her way more than I thought that, as opposed to them cheering her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that she probably was under the impression that coming off of the New Japan stuff that it was going to translate. And this goes back to your point where you said, the New Japan characters coming over here and it not getting over. And I think that's one of those cases.
Yo, and it's so funny you said that because Matt said the same thing you did, but he put it in joke form. He said the fans outside of Boston didn't accept her because she was from the Fed. Yo, you're not wrong, bro. You're not wrong. Yo, I feel like that's kind of how it is. Honestly, I feel like I'm not saying that anybody coming over for WWE is like, fucking spy or anything. What I am saying is I think that there may be some people in the AEW side that look at it that way. Maybe not like full blown like war shit, because why would they? It's not like AEW is anywhere close to WWE at this point, but just the idea that, oh, wait, can we trust them? Can we fully bring them in? You know what I mean? I just don't see that response with her. But
and let me tell you something. Would you be surprised if she had creative control in her contract?
And not even a little bit, Abe. Not even a little bit. I think Tony did not do enough research on why WCW failed, on how the beginning, because you could look at it right from outside and say, oh, it was the moment they started booking like this, or oh no, it was the moment they brought that guy in. But that's not where it starts. It starts in the back, and it starts weeks, if not months, before that shit even starts happening. So where are you in this position where you look at it that way and you say, oh shit, this is starting to resemble WCW? What were the problems? Taking creative control away was one of them.
And let me ask you this. Do you think she gets signed if Cody was still there in his position to that type of contract?
That's a good question.
I don't think she does.
Probably not. I can't see it going down that way, especially because when you think about when you think about Cody's time in the company and who is in charge, remember at that time, Kenny had a big say-so with the women's division. I mean, Kenny basically booked the first women's AEW champion. He had so much power. When you look at the beginning of AEW into today, despite the fact that the properties never changed hands in terms of ownership, it looks completely different from the outside, to the way it's shot, to the way it's booked, to the segments programmed and promoted, to the biggest aspect, and that is the way that the booking and everything like that has been handled. You know what I mean? So I think that's a really, really great point. Abe, could a name like Charlotte Flair save the division for AEW? Is it okay? What I'm trying to ask you, is it a point that women's wrestling doesn't work like the way men's does? You can't just bring in like a Hulk Hogan or a big name like that to save. You'd have to bring in like somebody at the tippity top, like somebody who could really have that sort of like, because she brings the Flair name, she like all that continuity comes. But could she be a person that AEW could sign and throw out there like they were hoping Monet was?
No, honestly, AEW, what they don't realize is they have the talent that is homegrown, or not homegrown, but that they put on.
Yeah.
They have enough of that to make 1 or 2 stars out of that. But the problem is that it feels lazy in some instances, and it feels like they don't have the time to or the resources to make somebody that nobody knows into somebody that everybody knows.
Damn,
And
that's a very good point.
and to kind of counter that, they make these moves like bringing in a Monet and stuff in hopes that in the interim they get the money off of it and the pop, but then they can develop somebody that is matched equally to that person and then kind of grow them that way.
Yes. Yes.
It just hasn't worked for them, and I feel like they need to stop trying to do it that way. It's almost like they just want more punishment. It's like, hit me, keep hitting me, because instead of putting their hands up, they just keep taking clean shots. And they have the talent. They have some really good women there in AEW, and they're just not doing anything with it.
Yeah. Do you think it could be different if a situation arose where or you know what, let me put it this way. You harped on something a long time ago about the women's division and the way it's booked, and it's kind of like changed my philosophy and how I think getting women over should work, right? Do you think that Tony Khan would be better off? Okay, I'm going to give you an example, and the example is the question I'm asking, right? It's a general question I'm asking you, but I'm going to use the example. Would Tony Khan have been better off signing Monet and saying, not to her, not to anybody, but in his mind, thinking about, okay, this investment, what am I going to get from it? Either he should have fully gone one route or two. One, he says, okay, I'm going to sign her, and everything she says, it sounds like she's down to I'm down for the cause. My bad. Down for the cause, right? And she's really down for AEW, and I could put everything on her back. She's going to come in. She's going to destroy MD, right? She's going to destroy Statlander. She's going to kill the whole division, so we could put everything on her and make her the monster, make her the big, you know, person of the division, the face of it, right? Because they've never had one like that other than Brandy, who didn't even wrestle. So would you be better off having that kind of mentality where, okay, all I'm going to do is try to get her over and I don't care who cries about it, or I'm bringing her in and I'm paying her as much as I'm paying for her name and for her to get beat by one of my homegrown guys? So should that be the way they see it? Because to me, one of the biggest problems that started with AEW from the very beginning and continues to this day is trying to make everybody happy and keeping the friends. You know what I'm saying? Like it goes back to what Matt said. What do you think? Do you think that you can survive thinking that kind of way as a promoter and a booker?
Nah.
No?
Listen,
You can't
I think
stay that strict to it.
yeah, I think that AEW is at a point where they're gonna have to make some hard decisions. One of the hard decisions is making Rampage or Collision an NXT type of show.
Mm.
You know, and specifically grooming um their next stars on that show. I would probably pick the Friday one, to be honest, and just use that opportunity to do that. They are wasting TV time.
Yes.
They're wasting TV time.
Period.
Now, listen, I'm not gonna complain because they're gonna be they just opened up an arena like 6 minutes from my house, which houses like 5,000 people. And they just announced they're gonna do a dynamite there in March. So I'm hyped.
Shit. Hell
I'm
yeah.
hyped about that, right? Um, but at the same time, they're doing a dynamite and then they do Rampage, or no, they do Collision tapings at the same time. So I don't know. Like I just feel like it's time for them to, if they're going to come into this new year with new year, new me type of thing, and you know, with Max coming on board, I think right now is the time to make that turn and develop new programming for their fans.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's well said as well. Listen, as far as the pay-per-view, the only thing we hadn't talked about is Jack Perry, Daniel Garcia. Technically, anything you want to add? Because I'll be honest, I think that you really cemented the problem of this when we talked about Daniel Garcia and his contract issue, or not issue, but when he got re-signed. So I don't know. Do you have anything else that you want to add to this? Because that was a really, great point that you had brought up when we were talking about Daniel Garcia.
Yeah, not really, man. I think
Me neither.
yeah, this match, I don't know. I mean it's cool, but I feel like this is just a stepping stone for something else. Like I said earlier, I think Ricochet gets involved in this and becomes that becomes the new storyline. But they also listen. There's a Will Ospreay,
Oh, we
appearance
didn't even
on
talk
this
about the
card.
Kyle Fletcher. My bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Kyle
I like
Fletcher.
that program. Listen, I'll say this real quick though, before you start on the Kyle Fletcher. I will say that the Jack Perry, Daniel Garcia, what's crazy is their little thing that they had last week with when him destroying the van. Dude, that got a shit ton of views online. It was crazy. They were talking about it. But go ahead. As far as Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay,
Yeah, I mean, I love this. Give
hell
me
yeah.
that. Give me that as the first match. Really.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Is there
That's gonna set the tone.
I agree, but could that work backwards against them? Like in WWE, you use it to set the tone because you have a bunch of names coming out that are going to pop no matter what they do. But with AEW, essentially what you're doing is raising the bar and then expecting everybody else to at least come close to it. With a Kyle Fletcher Will Ospreay match, is that bar too high to set at the very beginning? What do you think about that?
You have to, because what you can't do it as the main event, and
Nope.
you're not gonna put it in the middle of the pay-per-view.
How could you?
You can't. Now,
Mm-mm.
it could be the second match, because what you may do is you may start it off with MJF versus Roderick Strong, get that hometown pop and get that going like that. Then you
I like
follow it
that.
with the real Will Ospreay, and then you kind of go from there. I feel like that at some point they're either gonna put Will Ospreay like in a tag team, or they're going to turn him heel. I feel like.
I agree with the heel comment, and he's a great heel, by the way. And I'm gonna put you over real quick, Abe. I I love that you said that about the MJF match and the way you think. That's what I appreciate about your commentary versus a lot of other people in the space, is that you have a real mind for every detail in how to book a match, or like how things could work to help elevate the talent, and you putting it that way is a great way, a great point, because not only could they start it off with the MJF and get that hometown pop, but it can also set the stage for what you do later with the tag team. So if you give them all the hometown glory, but then take it away from the Acclaimed later in the night, it doesn't hurt as much. Or you set them up to think that, hometown boys are going to get it done all night, and then Acclaim shits the bed. You know what I mean? So it's like, it works in a lot of ways. I love that you said that. I love that that's how your mind works when it comes to this wrestling stuff. But as far as the Ospreay Kyle Fletcher, does it steal the show? I mean, is that if you had $1,000 and somebody put a gun to your head and said, no, you have to put all that money on one match that steals the show, is that your best bet?
Anytime you have Will Ospreay in there, I have to take my chances with that and say yes. The guy is a generational talent. I think that he would have been a super duper duper star at the WWE, but there's some guys that they just, they want. So I give you an example. When Otani came into the MLB, he said that he didn't want to be in a big market because he didn't want the pressures of trying to please people in the big market. Hence
Makes
why
sense.
he signed with the Anaheim Angels first.
Mhm.
But once he got his feet wet and understood what it was, then he was more prepared and everything else, and then he went to the Dodgers. I think
And won
that's
the MVP for the third time.
I think that's the case for Will Ospreay. I think he's gonna do his time, maybe build up his name even more with AEW, and then come over to WWE as an established star already.
That's an interesting point, and especially off the back of Matt's question. He says, are Will Ospreay or Ricochet any bigger as stars or more over than before they got to AEW? What do you think?
I think that more people. I think I think Will Ospreay is a little more over, than he was before being with AEW, because I think more of the domestic crowd knows him, instead of just the independent one. And with Ricochet, I think we got to give Ricochet a little bit more time because he
Agreed.
just came over with the company. Ask me that same question at the top of the year when we've had these last two pay-per-views, and then I'll give you my opinion on that.
Well said. Good way to answer that too, by the way. I think that there's no denying that Osprey's bigger. Moreover, that's a tough way to put it. I mean, anybody who sees Osprey the first time, I think that that's about as over as you're going to just stay that over. You know what I mean with that guy. But ultimately, I think Will Osprey is a guy who you could argue he's so good that if you're a casual fan, like orbiting the hardcore, you've heard of him, right? Like he reached already a certain amount of people just being on YouTube and having those clips out there, right? But being on American TV every single week, I'm sorry, it still has weight. Yeah, true. In a decade, there's not going to even be any cable TV, probably, right? Or maybe a couple. True. USA Network is probably not even going to exist in a few years, if not by next year, right? NBC Universal or no, Comcast just came out and said that, you know, they were getting rid of, or they're basically going to combine USA, you know, all the big brands that they have, Bravo, whatever. And so, you know, Raw's Netflix, Raw's thing with Peacock, that looks like it's ending. You know, they're saying that a bunch of PLEs and stuff are going to be on Netflix as of January 1st. That news came out today.
Yeah, but that's for people overseas. So
only overseas. Okay,
yeah. Because the WWE network still exists
in Europe and stuff.
In Europe and stuff. So
got you.
They're basically saying they're shutting down WWE network. And Netflix is going to absorb all of that for the international market.
Got it.
Which is
okay.
smart on them. And
Absolutely.
that also closes another chapter of Vince McMahon.
And do you hear anything as far as Peacock and how long that's going to exist for the US market?
Matt just put in there they have until 2026 with Peacock. And
Yo,
that
y'all
sounds about right.
Champs, bro, for real. This is the squad, dog. Yeah, no, thanks, Matt. You're the champ, bro.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And you know, it's gonna. I think that next year, depending on how the deal with Netflix goes, maybe they open up the wallet about absorbing the Peacock stuff.
You think so?
But I think that they want to do that full year run to see if it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, I hope that it works out because I mean I'll keep Peacock. You know, they're really trying, and I appreciate. Like I got rid of HBO Max. I remember early, like after a year it started because it just there was nothing. Like first of all, they didn't even have Game of Thrones up for more than a year. Second of all, they had some of the seasons missing. It just wasn't working right. Now today, Max is never something that I'm going to get rid of because it has everything that I need, right? If Netflix were to become that thing that it already exists as, and then become the premier home for the largest wrestling company in the history of the universe, yeah, I'm never going to delete that. You know, it's a one-stop shop. It's like if all of a sudden Amazon could make breakfast. Like if all of a sudden Amazon could somehow go in your kitchen and just make breakfast, it's like, oh, so now I will, before I needed it, and now like I'm never going to be able to live without it. So, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. Matt said, I like Peacock. They get a lot of movies in, I like. Yeah, me too. Yeah. And that's the other thing. They get them really fast. I just got to see Twister. You know, the Super Mario movie. There was like so many different movies that I missed in theaters, and they are so fast with Peacock. You know, kind of the way Hulu, the opposite of Hulu, where Hulu gets movies I want to see, but like super late.
Yeah, and the original programming is really good too.
Yes, very much so. And not only that, the original programming from Comcast. So like if you look at a show like Resident Alien, I don't know if anybody's seen that. It's hilarious. It's part of that Sci-Fi USA Peacock NBC universe, right? So it's not original content in terms of Peacock, but it is original content under their production umbrella. So you know what I mean? Like there's just so much that they do. But ultimately I bring it all back to the fact that yes, cable is dying. Yes, TV is dying. Yes, that is not a falsehood. But I still say that there is absolute power in being on TV week to week. And I think that at the very least, what Osprey was able to capture from an international market helped out, obviously, in the States. but being in the States, I have to believe not only has it raised, but it'll continue to raise. And it goes back to your point, Abe. You have to do this thing full circle, right? Like, would Stone Cold Steve Austin been as successful as he was if he went from WCW and then he gets cut and a week later he's in WWE? No, he needed that ECW run. That ECW run was pivotal to the story arc of what would become Stone Cold Steve Austin. So if MJF has to play this, weird face heel run in AEW for a little bit, but because it's going to prepare him for the moment that he gets to the big stage and everything changes, literally everything about his job that he thought he understand, that he thought he could teach a master class in, suddenly becomes a rookie in how to wrestle a TV match for WWE, wrestle a house show for WWE. So all that stuff. So if that's what we see in the story arc of Will Ospreay, then I think it brings him to better heights. Any chance Kyle Fletcher beats him?
Before I go into that,
Go ahead.
call the Wiseman. The number you have
Oh,
contacted has been disconnected.
shit. Yo, thank you. Oh my God. Listen to me. If we would have ended this and you would have texted me that, I would have been so mad. I would have called you until you agreed to come back here for 15 minutes. Because I gotta get it. So yes, that's next on deck. In fact, I don't even care if you want to answer the next one. I'll play.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we want to watch we want to watch this match, plain and simple. I don't think that we have to spend any more time on it because
Absolutely.
we know what it is. Will Ospreay music hits, you buckle up and you get ready to see greatness. Simple as that.
Absolutely. And I think he's winning. Okay, so yes, thank you. Thank you for the setup. Listen, we are a week removed from last week's SmackDown tonight. And what we learned last week was that the wise man's number has been disconnected. Abe, did he do that intentionally, or is he just removed himself so much from the situation to regroup? Is there a hint in the air of a potential wise man turn to Solo's team? What do you think, Abe? Break it down for us, dude. I got to hear what you think.
Oh man, you know what? Let me tell you. First of all, I thought that ending Raw on that little skit was the most genius thing that they've done all year. I have to say that. Whoever came up with that, man, 80s slow clap. Like they just did it. That was wonderful. That was fantastic. It was everything because it's like it left you on a cliffhanger, and then it left you to ask yourself, what does that all mean? Does it mean that Wiseman is going on the other side? Does it mean that Wiseman is never coming back? Does it mean that the Wiseman feels a certain type of way with Roman and decided that he no longer wants to have him in his contacts? Like, there's so many different questions about it. Does this mean that the wise man is now the wise man of The Rock, the final boss?
Oh shit! I didn't even think of that.
Is this the moment where The Rock turns on Roman and he has Heyman next to him? And says, "You let me down. I'm with the final boss."
That's gonna hit. That would hit
Oh,
so
man.
hard.
But I'm gonna tell you though, in the back of my mind, still getting those Sami Zayn NWO vibes. He come in and turn that heel, boy. I feel it in my blood that's gonna happen.
Yo, here's the thing though. I wish if that is the booking, my only wish for it would have been for it to like happen in Canada, happen somewhere where it would break the hearts of everybody.
Well, the Survivor Series is in Canada.
Oh my God. Holy shit. I forgot. Holy shit. I don't know why I was thinking of the Prudential. Oh, AW's in the Prudential. I don't know why that crossed my. Oh my God, dude. That would be huge. I don't know if Canadians are American enough or not American enough are I guess American enough to throw as much trash in the ring as the NWO, you know what I mean? But certainly they're gonna be pissed. Damn, that's gonna be crazy. That is gonna be crazy, Abe. Okay, so let me ask you this though. And just to get your opinion on it, CM Punk of it all. There are those that are booking now. Fightful has said, Wrestling News has said, a few other people have come out and said that, and this isn't like rumor or anything like that. This is their own booking, right? That they believe that Paul and everything that we've seen transpire over the last 7 days in WWE TV is hinting towards the connection between CM Punk and Roman Reigns, and then making CM Punk the 5th member. Abe, how do you feel specifically about not just using Paul in that way, but CM Punk being the 5th member and added to this storyline?
Yeah, listen, I don't like that they're adding potentially Seth Rollins to it because it feels forced. They got big man over at the with Solo, and they were gonna add Seth. Although Seth has been wearing a lot of black lately, if you notice in his costume, and you notice that he changed his hair back to Shield Seth.
Yes. Oh man, I'm so glad you said it. Yes.
Right, and so it's almost kind of taking a chapter out of Matt Hardy, where when he starts turning into broken Matt,
yes.
he starts kind of changing, week to week his character, and I feel like Seth Rollins is kind of doing that. But then if nothing happens there in that match, then you kind of just put Seth and the other guy in there just because they got a little story going, and it's kind of forced. There has to be something significant. Maybe Seth on the night of says, you know what? I said I was going to do it. I'm not doing it anymore.
Ooh,
and then
that's good.
And then they leave it as the night of the pay-per-view. Oh, we don't have the 5th guy. Who's going to be the 5th guy? And then 4 comes out, and then whoever the 5th guy is comes out in the mid of the card, but then maybe it's not what we all thought it would be. Maybe it is CM Punk, but maybe he turns on Roman Reigns at that point. And then that's when
it would
Paul
have
Heyman
to be a
comes
big
out.
name, though. It would have to be a big name for that mid fight reveal.
But I'm thinking that Sami Zayn swerve, I feel it in my bones, man. I think.
Okay, but do you think it happens at the beginning, or do you think it's kind of like a bogus Sting War Games moment where it's like in the ring, will he, won't he? Or do you think it's like done from the beginning or at the very end? Like will it be
at the end?
At the very end. Okay. I want to see that Sting though thing. Like, do you remember that War Games where they thought Sting was on the NWO? I mean, I'm sure you remember, right?
Yeah.
And then when Sting finally came in the ring, there was this moment, where it was like, oh shit, what's he going to do? Because now you're in WCW's head, right? Or the faces, and you're thinking, oh shit, that was never Sting. And now you're running back. We've been treating Sting like a traitor, like a Benedict Arnold, like a piece of crap for all these weeks. So even if it wasn't Sting this whole time, in this position now, is it Sting because now he's pissed off at us, right? So it was this huge moment to me as a kid where I'm like, thank God it wasn't Sting this whole time, which we knew, right? The guy didn't even look like Sting. And then it was like, okay, but wait, how pissed is Sting now? Look at him. He has been in this position. You know what I mean? And then finally he made the choice, but it wasn't a choice. You see, he beat him up and then left and kept his own thing. Sami couldn't do that. Sami would have to stay on one side versus the other. So how do you book it?
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. All I know is that at the end of it, Sami grabs the mic and he says, "No, you guys screwed, or Canada screwed Canada, or something like that."
Oh shit! Yo,
and then come out and say,
Goldberg.
"Yeah, come on and say, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you guys can stick it," or something like that. And just be like, you guys let me down. Solo and everybody always been behind my back. They've adopted me as a part of their family. Ooh, that would sting.
That would sting, bro. Because it's Jay and Jimmy. They both did it. You know what I mean? So you can't say, "Oh no, Jay's my friend." No, he's not. He hated you at the beginning.
They would have to escort Sami out of the country.
Yeah, like, probably, seriously, bro, for real.
Like,
that
seriously,
would be nuts. Hey, Hey, what about this? Listen to Matt's booking real quick. First of all, he said Canadians indeed, not American. Funny, Matt. I meant American as a continent. Okay, so he said, who's the fifth man? Paul comes out, and here comes the pain. Hits, takes out everyone, and we leave. What do you think, Gabe?
This is the thing. Is this the moment where The Rock comes in? Does The Rock come and show up? He's on the Netflix teaser.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or do you start it? I feel like, honestly, the Netflix show is going to start off with John Cena. It's as simple as that.
I think you're right.
So is this the moment where The Rock comes in?
Listen, I think it could be, and I think it's a great part. Like, it's a great place to bring him back. Honestly, it makes so much sense that if they don't do it, it better be because the plans are completely different than what we expected, honestly, because this would be the moment. Like, how could you continue to tell a Civil War story that leads to WrestleMania between the Roman and the Rock that doesn't begin at this PLE? You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Or that's not that it doesn't make any sense, but it would make more sense if you're on the trajectory that we think you're on, right? That said, though, Brock Lesnar represents two things. One, he represents the big, huge name surprise that would get us all, right? And then two, he also represents this, I don't want to say a security blanket, that's weird, but he represents this notion that WWE isn't going to play. Like, I don't mind WWE, being for everybody the way that they present it. That's great. I love it. Inclusion is the best, but pandering to us, I don't like. Don't pretend like you're mad at Brock Lesnar. Don't pretend like you're punishing him or like you're doing anything other than have made him millionaire far beyond his wildest dreams. So then we'll just use him. We'll use him when it makes sense for us, right? This isn't to give him millions of dollars. It's to create a great pop that leads to, something else. That said, I think Matt's booking is popped. I think it's popped from the beginning. I don't think that they're even going to utilize Brock. I'd be surprised if he comes back even within the next year or two. I think if he ever does come back, it's going to either be to be inducted in the Hall of Fame or for like a one and done in a couple years.
Let me ask you this. Could you see a scenario like this? Roman Reigns, everybody's kind of like all scattered in the match, right? Roman Reigns is about to do the finisher on Solo. All of a sudden, The Rock's music hits. The lights go to The Rock standing in his position, right? Roman looks at him like in shock, like, what's gonna happen? Like, why is this happening? Then all of a sudden, coming from behind The Rock is Paul Heyman holding up the people's title on his chest like he would the Universal title, and then Solo rolls up Roman, costing him the match. Now you do Roman Rock after that for Mania.
Yeah, that works. That works on a lot of different levels. And at the end of the day, what I appreciate about that booking more than anything is it gives us a destination. It gives us for the reason. Look, okay, if WWE wants Roman Rock to get over, Rock, if you want this match to get over, you have to do something or lots of things that make us completely forget about last year's WrestleMania. The idea that The Rock wanted to wrestle Roman, and this has always been a plan, and they didn't care how it gets done, that needs to be eliminated from every single fan's mind. Okay, what you just said gives them reason. It gives them motivation. It gives us stakes, because the other way around, all that we see from the optics and perspective of last year's WrestleMania heading into this year's WrestleMania and continuing that trend is that The Rock simply wants to get over, right? And he doesn't want to just get over. He wants the whole family to get over. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that to take that spot, right? It's one thing if you want to be the third match on the second night or something, but to take that WrestleMania spot away from the people that grind it out every year and go to the Royal Rumble, and we buy into this idea that any one of the 30 men can win, even though that's not true. And we do all these things expecting this continuity, to have it just shattered and broken because some multi-millionaire Hollywood superstar comes in and wants to just be the guy. That doesn't work over here, brother. You know, treat it like baseball, treat it like football. You didn't see Mike come out of retirement and then go to baseball. No, he left his prime. He left his prime as the baddest man on the court, went to baseball and got shit on, got struck out, couldn't hit a curveball to save his life. Okay. And that's the way it works. That's the way it works. That's what happens when you're Mike Tyson trying to fight after decades away from the sport, close to 60 years old, for a paycheck. That's what happens. No, Jake Paul is not better than Mike Tyson. In no world has Jake Paul ever been a better fighter than Iron Mike Tyson. But the guy that exists in the body of the person that used to be Iron Mike Tyson is not Iron Mike Tyson anymore. That's how this world works. And when WWE does things that book against that, it has to be set up in a way that is believable, because any other way that it happens is just an insult to our intelligence as wrestling fans.
Now, let me ask you this.
Let me
ask you this. And I put this in the booking before, and I'm still holding this as a possibility. You know, we get the good old American babyface smile, Cody Rhodes walking down that aisle. Ooh. And turns heel.
No. Yo, I would love. Oh man, dude.
Because
I would think about it.
Think about this. Like, everybody's expecting for Cody Rhodes to do the right thing. Sure. He coming down that aisle to save the day.
Sure. Just
like Hogan was, except he's not. He's not coming down to save the day, because his title run has. Although he's making a ton of money, it's stale right now. The WWE understands that it's stale. They're squeezing out the juice because it's stale right now. You need something to boost it. Cody knows this. Cody's like, hey, let me tap into that Bullet Club. Let me tap into that Bullet Club, Cody, and let me show you what I could do. Watch me work. And that would be, that right there would be something, because now you make Roman Reigns the face of all faces.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing, though. The only reason I wouldn't like that is because that's a move you make when you really need something to get shooken up and you really need the eyeballs, they do, right? You're everything you said, it makes sense. But this is the only part that doesn't make sense. You have other routes or other roads, if you will, no pun intended, right? So if you're going to ever make that booking, right, that you just laid out, you got to do it at a time when all this other stuff is behind you, because why waste that moment now? All you do, every second that goes by with Cody on WWE TV, every post on social media, every face move he makes only is money being put into a piggy bank that is cashed out when he turns heel, right? Hogan got all that trash thrown in the ring, not because he, was working against WCW faces, but because for every slam he gave the Giant, for every red and yellow bandana that was ever purchased at a WWF event, every single face moment worked in favor of his booking and turning heel. So you have to put these Cody good guy moments in a bank to cash out later.
Because I get that. I would not be surprised if they did that, because then guess what you can do? When John Cena opens up Netflix, you can have Cody come in and beat his ass right in the beginning segment.
Ooh, yeah, that is true. Very, very true.
And you talk about
do that, but see, no, this is why it doesn't work though. Cody would have to have a faction. He would have to have a faction, or at least a group of guys that are ready to form a faction. To this point, too much of Cody's story has been, who else can help him? Like, how can he even the odds, right? Like, he's going up against this solo led bloodline, and who's going to help him? You know what I mean? So, like, at this point, if he joins that faction, all that gets lost. It gets murky. It would have to be a situation where he turns and he's now the Hogan of a faction.
But this is the thing, though. It could very simply be where he turns and then Kevin Owens tells everybody, I told you so.
Oh,
I told
shit.
you that he was the
That's
bad
good.
guy,
That's
and
good booking.
I wasn't. He was the bad guy.
Do they join forces after that?
No.
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 So how do you see? But that's a problem. Then how do you have? So then does Kevin Owens go face?
Maybe
That could
in
work.
between.
That could work
or in
though.
between.
That could work. But here's the thing: he exists as an in between, right? So that makes sense to keep him that way because in reality, he's never been a full face and he's never really been a full heel. He's worked as a full heel and he's worked as a full face, but his character, it blurs the lines. Like, that's the whole point of him, and that's the reason I think he uses the Sunner and he tries to blur the lines between him and Stone Cold because there is that aspect of him where he's just who he is. You know what I mean? He's kind of an a-hole, but he's also Canadian. So yeah.
I don't know. Like I do agree with what you're saying that it's Money in the Bank. They never cashed in on John Cena's Money in the Bank. And maybe to a certain extent, they feel like maybe they missed an opportunity, but they still made a shit ton of money with him.
Hell yeah.
I don't think that they tried to miss the moment with Cody. I think that Cody has probably peaked already. As a face.
Oh, what? Really? You think so? Oh, wait. Okay, as in this run.
Yeah.
Not like all time, not as big as Cody could be, right?
Yeah. Like on this
Okay.
run, might have already peaked. People already kind of like tuned out a little bit on what he's got going on. Do people really care about his rivalry with Kevin Owens right now? Not so much.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They don't, but they'll care. They'll start to care when Randy comes in the picture. They'll care when it's John Cena. You know what I mean? Like, you can keep, because here's the thing, right? It's not that I have a problem at all with the booking because I already said it's a great booking. My problem is not with the booking. The problem is with the timing, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have to send Cody away as a heel, because I think you might be right. He may have reached his peak in this first run, but the opportunity to exceed that peak isn't based on him turning heel. It could be. It's based on him being taken away from that spotlight, right? And then being reintroduced. So you could be in a position where he goes home, right? Or stays away for a while and comes back. Let's look at John Cena's career as a trajectory for just a second. John Cena was never heel once he became that superstar, right? He started off with the rap gimmick and it was heelish, but he was never that heel afterwards. And you said it could have been a missed opportunity for them. Sure, absolutely. But ultimately, he was a kind of heel in a sense. The fans booed the shit out of him. Cena sucks was a thing. So even though he never turned heel on the program sheets, right, where we could sit here as journalists and spectators and historians and say, well, he was never really heel, he was treated heel. Okay, he was treated heel. And so Cody, and what happened, he got even bigger because of it. He got even bigger. And then by the time he came back, he was beloved. So yes, you're right. One of the easiest ways to get that second gear is to go heel and come back as face, right? But there exists a route. There exists a trajectory in which Cody does not abandon the face gimmick, but instead goes home, comes back, goes home, comes back, loses the title. This is a progression. John Cena did not become John Cena in a vacuum. It took a decade, if not longer, for him to establish and become who he is today. So you don't become one of the biggest superstars in WWE. You don't become then one of the biggest faces in WWE. You don't become then one of the biggest faces of all time in wrestling. And then you don't just become the Hollywood actor and that you become. And then you don't just become a huge Hollywood actor on the verge of being a huge piece of DC's new, revamped stories. So I say all that to say that we don't have to rush any booking, despite how good it could be for Cody and us and how interesting it is to get to the goal line, right, with Cody. That's basically my whole point, is there exists a route where he never does turn heel initially, and still climbs up that ranking so that it makes it even crazier when he does finally make that move. I want to show you one thing real quick, and this isn't to say what I think is going to happen. I just wanted to see if Matt was right, and he was. He said Brock was moved to the active roster a couple of months ago and is still there. I remember the story very much when he was taken off of the
active roster.
Yeah, thank you, the active roster. And I don't remember ever him being put on. I don't remember the story of him being put on. So I actually was assuming that this was going to be the first time that I fact checked Matt and was going to call him out. And yet it proves once again that Matt is always on his A game, because it is in alphabetical order. There is Brock Lesnar on the current wrestlers spot. Not only that, but this was a move that was made, because I saw with my own eyes Brock Lesnar taken off of the roster spot. This was right before his the whole story hit. I went, looked, he was on the active roster, and then a couple days later he was taken off. So this is purposeful of them putting him back on. Abe, does this change your mind as far as Brock's chances of showing up as a fifth member at all, or is there no chance he becomes the fifth member?
No, I think there's a chance. You also got to remember that Brock lives in Canada. So there is absolutely a chance that he'll be there. The only way they don't do it is if there's too strong of a connection with him and the McMahon case. That's the only way they don't do it.
Is there any way that they know everything that's going to be said? Like, would they have had to have disclosed the files by now, or is WWE still in the dark? Okay, yeah.
No. I'm sure that
they would have to have
McMahon's
known.
lawyer has it, and I'm sure TKO requested it just so that they're not compromising themselves a bit. Because what you don't want is to put Brock Lesnar, on TV on a WWE program, and then his name pop up in a court case 2 months later about something that they knew about already. Like, you don't want that.
That's a great point. Great point. Spot on. Hey, yo, shout out to Matt. You know what, Matt? I'm going to take that L. Why I ever doubted you, I have no idea, but I'm going to take that L. He said they have the Bullet Club he was a part of, though. Gallo, Anderson, and AJ are in WWE. That's a good point. Listen, I think that this would be a time, Abe, for you to tell me, because even though we talked about, the possibility of Paul Heyman being a siding with Solo, I want to ask you what your opinion is specifically on them using Paul to be turned heel in an attempt to further the Solo stuff. And I ask you specifically, and I'm going to preface this for everybody, because you booked a couple of months ago, whenever Paul was taken off air, if y'all remember, Solo and the Bloodline, they were feuding, and then they power bombed him through the table. Some of the most powerful imagery on WWE TV in a long time. And we assumed at that time that would only be the reason because they were going to bring Paul in a more heroic road. You booked Paul coming back in the black leather coat with the black hat and the 90s Zach Morris phone as a full face return to get his redemption in a redemption arc alongside Roman Reigns. I love the booking personally. This is why I'm bringing it up, because to me, this is one of the best little things that you've always said that make a big deal, right? And add to the whole storyline. Even if it really isn't a big part of the storyline, it makes an impact. So I ask you again, not the chances of Paul being it, but if Paul is turned heel, is this a moment that was ruined, or is this a moment that was missed out? And do you think it's more exciting going that route as opposed to the face route? I'm gonna fix my light behind here. Go ahead.
I think that honestly, either route is gonna be a good route because Paul Heyman is gonna make it into everything. The only place that I still feel like was a missed opportunity was the 2300 Arena NXT. I think that you could have hinted at a Paul Heyman, whichever route you were gonna do at that night, and it would have gotten over like crazy because of the setting. But I think that that was a missed opportunity from WWE. Either way that Paul Heyman comes back, it's gonna be big. He's gonna make it big. the guy is a genius, right? And so it's gonna work either way. Um, I'm hung on this nostalgia act because also recently the WWE added a WCW pack to their video game, the 2K4 game. So now they have like Diamond Dallas Page and got all these other folks on there. So they're still clinging on, tapping that nostalgia, right? Which is why I feel like the Heyman thing with the black leather coat and all that is still that's still very possible for him to come back as that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're right. There's still a chance there, and I hope it is capitalized on. Matt said, I agree. Paul could have shown up at NXT, especially because he can't be contacted by Roman now that his number don't work. Yo, that would have been so perfect. Like, because one of my problems, Abe, that when we had talked about it was that ruining the Roman Paul reunion on an NXT show doesn't feel like the move. Like, yes, I love NXT and I hope that, and I want them to get the rub, but that's too far. That is too far for me, right? That's like Thanos snapping his finger on screen for fucking WandaVision on a TV show, right? It's just not the stage or the venue. That said though, they could have done that like that, right? Whereas like Roman didn't know because the number was disconnected. Abe, do you expect to see anything on SmackDown tonight that furthers the Paul stuff, or is this a slow play till either Survivor Series or beyond?
Slow play. Survivor Series is not till next week, right?
Yes.
And so I'm thinking a hard push on Monday and then an even harder push on Friday going into Saturday. I think they just kind of buy time a little bit tonight.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Listen, that's 2 hour mark right there. We're only supposed to do an hour. We can go ahead and jump off. We're gonna end. Doesn't look like anybody called in today anyway. So just want to say very, very appreciative to Machine Gun for always tapping in with just really excellent commentary and jokes, by the way. Super hilarious. Shout out to Adam Sanchez, who is in the chat, delivering some really great commentary as well. And I want to shout out to XYG, Jabby, Pinot Greasy. Sorry, brother. I'm sorry. And then another Matt, Matt H, I guess. We'll say that so I don't butcher his name. Thank you to everybody who's in the IG chat. Listen, man, there are a lot of people watching right now, not on the YouTube. In fact, like 80% of the people right now listening are not on the YouTube. So if you're not on the YouTube and you're listening right now, I appreciate everybody on Twitch, IG, Facebook, X. If you could do me a huge favor, us, Abe and I, a huge favor, and hit the subscribe button on the YouTube. Listen, guys, I want to make this a public declaration for everybody to hear. I started work on the new logo. That should be finished this weekend. Abe and I have come up with some other production stuff, voiceover stuff. I'm not voiceover, like sound bites and things like that. And so we're cranking up the production level. We're going to be cranking up the seriousness. I'm going to, from now on, every week have the program ready or the topics ready on Monday, so everybody can know what we're going to talk about and have points to make to bring on the show, and really want to turn it up. So the way that we can continue to upgrade like that, and the way we can continue to raise our own bar, is for people to go to the YouTube and subscribe. It's that simple, literally that simple. And we will continue to be a platform that, one, brings you the news, brings you recaps, brings you reviews. There's nothing we won't do on these airwaves. We will watch old matches, talk about old programs, whatever, because we are genuine, hardcore wrestling fans who also happen to work as journalists in the sport. So at the end of the day, we want to continue to do that. And so the only way we can do that is by you subscribing. Again, I appreciate you watching on any platform. I'm not asking you to switch to YouTube, simply asking that if you enjoy this program, which a lot of people do, it's starting to really grow. The numbers are crazy. Please hit the subscribe button. That is the only way for this to, end up resonating some way with YouTube and the rest of them. And unfortunately, that's the name of the game. You all know that. You've been part of these communities forever. So yeah, listen, I've been at Mario Munguia. You can find me on everything from Twitter to X to Facebook and IG. And at Infighting Pod is the social media destination. At Infighting Hub is the YouTube channel, and that is because we have Work in Progress on Tuesdays, and which is what we do with the wrestling. It's all wrestling. I'm also doing a boxing only show as well, and got the schedule up on Twitch. I'm gonna put it everywhere else this weekend. So yeah, I just wanted to get that spiel out of the way. I should have done it at the beginning of the show, but while we have the numbers and everybody's joined on it here at the end, I wanted to say that. I also want to say to everybody who also just joined in the last like 20 minutes, we had a crazy up mark there. You can call in. The live chat is, the link to join the live chat is always in the YouTube chat. And the link is always in the Instagram chat. And the link is always in the Twitch chat. So you can join. You do not have to download the app. Simply copy and paste the link. Or just if you have an iPhone or any phone, just push and hold and it'll come up and it'll just say like go to the website, which is the way to not have to download the app. So anyway, at Fights Around the World, that's fightsatw.com is the website, bringing you all boxing, wrestling, just everything you'd want to know. If you are a boxing fan who has just happened to be wanting to know about Paul and Tyson, that was your destination. A destination for not just sports, not just entertainment, but a combination of sports and entertainment. Abe, do you want to give out your personals?
Yeah. Fightsatw.com. That's the website. At AbeG718 on X, Instagram, AbeG Boxing on YouTube, where I have, the latest interviews with all of your favorite fighters. And listen, Fights ATW, that we had recently had an exclusive by Thomas Gerbasi with Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett has Bloodsport 7 or 12, I should say, coming out on Sunday on Triller TV pay-per-view. Is a GCW host type of situation. So check out that story on the website. And yeah, we appreciate everybody that's been watching here, following us here. Machine Gun Matt says that he has the Machine Gun Star ratings coming soon.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. We'll just add, there'll be the Super Soaker edition.
Hell yeah.
So started with
Fuck
full gear.
Love it.
So yeah, just let's see what's going on. We're gonna hit this last part of the year strong and then hit on 2025.
Hell yeah, definitely. And yeah, Matt, we had talked about it about maybe a month ago. I love the ratings he brings in at the end of PLEs or pay-per-views, and so we talked about it. Honestly, I want to come up with like a name and like a little like 5-second like melody drop, like, you know what I mean, like just something like funny, you know what I mean. But yeah, it's gonna be a full segment that I want Matt to judge and grade the pay-per-views, because we got to have some reference points, Abe. You know what I mean? Like to be like, oh, well, what kind of pay-per-view is this? It's like, it's too vague to give like historical references to like our favorite pay-per-views or like pay-per-views that are like highly rated. So Matt providing us with a star system, rating system of any kind, helps to, for us to continue the continuity in this. But yeah, everybody, please go hit the subscribe, hit the likes, share, and yeah, until next time, peace.